professor said is, no, we don't teach any of Israel's wars. Israel's wars are miracles. We don't teach about miracles unless. So this is, of course, a very crazy time. Painful, hard, crazy, very hard. I hope nobody watched any videos that are flying around or looked at any images. I did not. Those videos and images are designed to terrify us, and they're very, very, very traumatizing. And psychologists say that somehow they could be more traumatizing for us than whatever. I'm not comparing, but somehow they're very psychologically traumatizing seeing it. So I hope you didn't watch any. I am still in New York, as you know. I go to the Rebbe for Sukkot, and very often I come back for the last days of the holiday, but this time I stayed. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And to put things in perspective, where I was, 770, the central shul of the Rebbe, central synagogue, is swarming with people from Israel. Maybe they're from another country, but probably they're from Israel. Probably not from America. Probably not from, there's Americans, there's French, there's Australians, there's English, there's Brazilians, there's Argentinians, there's people from all over the world that come. But the largest group is for sure from Israel. One point I was with a lady who has 4 sons, professional soldiers in the army. Another point I was standing for a long time by Hakafos with a girl whose family lives right in that area. She did not ask anything. It was a holiday, and she didn't call to see what's happening because no, it's a holiday. So there was a lot of intensity. Tremendous intensity. A lot of course, being very shattered, broken feeling, some more quickly and some with time over. I'm talking about over the day of, Shabbos and Sunday, Saturday and Sunday. Okay. Thank you. It was a sense of we combat it with joy. There was so much joy. There's always so much joy by the Rebbe, and especially Sukkot. But there was such an intensified joy, an intensified singing, an intensified dancing. And the prayer on Sunday, when of course Saturday, Shabbos, people are just sort of like trickling in, getting a little news. It was still vague. But by Sunday morning, it was much more clear. Of course, not as clear as after the holiday when we all went on our phones, but by then it was clear enough. And I have to say, the Chazan, the one who led the services of the morning prayers, what's called the Shacharit services, literally I felt it was like a combination of Yom Kippur and Simchat Torah, intense joy, intense energy, very beautiful, very powerful, very emotional, and very joyous, all at various points throughout very long prayers. It was really the sense of okay, we are accomplishing something because this is what God needs from us, for him to do what he and we want to do. That was just the general feeling, more joy and psalms and joy and psalms and dancing and psalms and singing and songs and confidence and song. And then of course last night we could go on our phones, and then of course it gets even much more emotional, though I did not watch any videos or look at any images to protect my own mental health and not fall into the trap the enemy wants us to fall into. I'm not giving them more power by looking at anything, because that's just designed to create fear, create despair, and get power. So I didn't really prepare because it was a busy time and a lot going on, but I wanted to share some of the things over all the years, some of the instructions of the Rebbe and the basic point of the Rebbe in such situations. What the Rebbe has done historically, since I didn't prepare, I don't have all the dates perfectly, though I know the general chronological timeline, for us to have a perspective and for us to know what to do. And then, of course, everyone else can share as well, because I'm sure there's a lot of feelings, and there might be a lot of questions, and there might be a lot of comments and of thoughts. By the 6-Day War, of course, by the 6-Day War, it was 1967, there was this fear. The whole Jewish world was terrified. It was a fear that we have, I think 5 armies. I think it was, I don't remember exactly, just talking off the top of my head. It was definitely Egypt and Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, those 5. There might have been more, plus more friends of ours, but all saying we're going to wipe Israel off the map. It's 1967. It's a very young country. We're going to destroy Israel. And it was interesting because in the beginning of the war, Egypt put out this false news. False news is not a product of, our most recent times. False news has always existed. So they put out this false news about how we're winning and we're murdering and we're slaughtering. And then, like, for example, Jordan, that was sitting on the fence because they were like, no, if Israel wins, we don't want to fall prey. Let's see what happens. Even though, of course, everyone knew that the Arabs were going to win. But once they heard all these reports from Egypt, they joined the battle also, which was great because then we were able to get back all of our holy sites that had been held by Jordan until 1967. So the Rebbe came out to the world with one message: put on tefillin. I'm sure you're all familiar with the concept of what we call the tefillin campaign, or Mivtza Tefillin, which means tefillin campaign, which is get every Jewish male 13 and older to put on tefillin, to don phylacteries, and to know that by putting on tefillin, he's saving a soldier in Israel. And in all subsequent wars and conflicts, the Rebbe always went back to that theme of put on tefillin. There's a verse that says that when the Jew wears tefillin, our sages explain based on a verse, the nations will see and will be terrified of us, and they will run away from us. And there's so much footage from the 6-day war of the soldiers, the soldiers from all these armies running away from the Jews, like panicking and running back to Syria, panicking and running back to Egypt, panicking from what? From a few soldiers, from they had yeshiva boys with guns they barely could hold. There was a panic, there was a fear, there was a terror. And that panic, fear, and terror came from the tefillin. And of course, we know that what happened. We know it was a 6-day war, after which we got the whole Sinai, all the holy places, the rest of Jerusalem, Hebron, the Cave of the Patriarchs, all of these things in the north, the Golan Heights, which they had been using as, we were their artillery practice because they were on the heights and they were shooting down on us. We got this all then during the 6-day war. It was incredible. And it's so interesting. There was a Jewish boy that was in West Point. West Point is a very elite academy for people that are going to be professional officers in the American Army. And the professor was going through various historical wars and analyzing how they won, and he doesn't mention anything from Israel. And this boy felt very like, what are you, such an anti-Semite? How could you ignore Israel, modern warfare? And maybe he said something in class, and the professor told him, speak to me after class, or maybe he went up to him after class. I don't remember. But the professor said, no, we don't teach any of Israel's wars. Israel's wars are miracles. We don't teach about miracles in West Point. And that was really the approach that we saw and have seen and have seen and have seen. And that really connects very strongly, meaning West Point knows it. We know it. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, there's many talks. There's going around TikTok, a video of the Rebbe saying this very powerfully. I don't know if it's translated to English, but the Rebbe says that there's a verse. The Rebbe says we need weaponry to fight the enemy. The enemy's on our border. The enemy wants to take us over. The enemy's vicious. The enemy's wild. We need to fight back. The Rebbe says, but we can't fight back with physical armament. It's not going to make it. We're not going to win that. We need to fight back spiritually. The Rebbe quoted the verse, if you will go in my statutes, if you will follow my observance of Torah and the commandments. The Rebbe said, if, our sages say is the lashon of please, please, please. Please, please, please go in my statutes, God is saying. And then the verses continue, all the blessings that will happen. I will give peace to the land. Nobody will attack you. There'll be nothing to fear. Verses and verses promising from God absolute protection if you go in my statute. The Rebbe said this time and time again. This is our arsenal. Yeah, we need arsenal. This is our arsenal. So in the 6-day war, the very heavy emphasis was on the tefillin. The next war, which of course was 50 years ago and very reminiscent, I'm sure, not just to me, I'm sure to everyone here, was in 1973 with the Yom Kippur. Now, already the entire summer before the Yom Kippur War, the Rebbe was warning about it. It's very interesting. Someone was saying how his Rebbe kept warning and warning about this impending war, but this impending from, as it was, from the south and from the north, from Egypt and from Syria. They want to crush us in between. And the Rebbe was warning about it. People were not listening. I mean, I do think the Israeli government knew, and I think they had this fear of, like, we don't want to be the first one. Unlike in the 6-day war where they knew, and therefore they went, and then the first day of the war destroyed all the Egyptian Air Force in one blow before they attacked us. But some in the Yom Kippur War, they knew and they waited and they knew and they waited and they didn't know it was going to happen on Yom Kippur in 1973, but they knew something was happening. The Rebbe that entire summer, he kept encouraging and gathering children, making children's rally, gathering children to say together verses of Torah, to say prayer, to give charity. And the Rebbe kept quoting the verse, from the mouth of the babes and the young will be the strength of the Jewish people. And again, and again, and again, and again, the Rebbe kept encouraging, gather the children, make rallies, add in Torah, add in prayer, add in charity, make more rallies, make more rallies, make more rallies. And then the Yom Kippur War came out. Now, of course, it was 50 years ago, and it wasn't like a 6-day war. It was interesting because someone afterwards was speaking to the Rebbe about the Yom Kippur War, and the Rebbe said, no, there were greater miracles in the Yom Kippur War than in the 6-day war. Like, we don't know. We're behind the side. We only know what the false news the media feeds us. The Rebbe says there was greater miracles. The Rebbe, of course, no. The miracles were greater if the enemy hadn't, on a physical plane, hadn't stopped to regroup, both in the north and in the south, Israel wouldn't have had a chance. But they, for some crazy reason, did. And that gave Israel the chance to defend themselves, to fight back. And as the Rebbe kept begging them, the Rebbe said, go to Damascus. Conquer Damascus, then this will stop. Let's fast forward a little. The Rebbe came out with a campaign of having children say 10 Torah passages. The Rebbe said, by the children saying these Torah passages, again, that same verse that the Rebbe quoted in the Yom Kippur War, before the Yom Kippur War, from the mouths of babes and young will be the strength to overcome the enemy. The Rebbe's taught and encouraged the dissemination, the teaching, the saying, the reciting of these 12 verses. And right after that was Entebbe. The Entebbe raid happened literally, it was within a week or 2 weeks of the Rebbe coming out with these 12 Torah passages. And of course, for this whole duration of Entebbe, the Rebbe was very much pushing this and also saying that every single one there, if you've ever seen videos of Entebbe, some of the passages are clearly very religious and some of the passages are clearly very not religious from the Jews. The Rebbe said, check the mezuzahs of every single one of those people. Now, obviously, some people didn't have mezuzahs. Every single person there, including the people that look and think they're ultra religious, every one of their mezuzahs was not kosher. Mezuzahs are a protection. The Rebbe said, give every single one of those people, get into their homes, connect, give them kosher mezuzahs. The kosher mezuzahs will protect them. And again, pushing the children, saying these Torah passages. And of course, we know what happened. The enormous, miraculous, unbelievable victory of Entebbe. That is no human way to explain it. America tried to do something similar, when the hostages were in Iran. And they had months to prepare and limitless resources. And if you remember, they failed miserably. The Jewish people, within a few hours, pulled off one of the most spectacular rescue operations that make no sense. No, you can't duplicate it. It doesn't make any sense. That's what I was praying to God today. I said, make such victories that the whole world will know it's you. There won't even be a thought. It's the IDF. No, I want bigger than that. I want that the whole world knows it's you, as was very clear in Entebbe. Later, we're moving to, this was the early 80s. The Rebbe started talking about a tremendous danger in the world. The Rebbe said there's a madman, and the madman could go into a room and push a button, and God knows what he could do to the entire world. And the Rebbe said, we have to combat this. How are we combating this? We're going to write a Torah scroll. And every letter in that Torah scroll is going to be purchased by a Jewish child under bar or bat mitzvah. So we're going to have Jewish children, Torah, and absolute unity. And every child has to purchase it for the same $1. Nobody can give more. Nobody can give less. Absolute unity over the whole world. The Rebbe kept pushing this. The Rebbe kept warning. There's a madman. The madman wants to destroy the world. The madman could destroy the world. We have to fight this, and this is our arsenal. The Rebbe especially highlighted 2 days that are very connected to children. Lag BaOmer and Shavuot. Lag BaOmer, where the Rebbe traditionally would make this huge parade of Jewish children, Jewish pride. And Shavuot, the giving of the Torah, when, as we know, the sages say, our children are guarantors. God gave us the Torah because of the merit of the Jewish children who would continue it from generation to generation. On those 2 days, the Rebbe said, we have to push so strongly to get children to do this. We have to push, we have to push, we have to push, we have to push. The Rebbe was pushing like there's a crazy fear, there's a crazy situation, and we are conquering it now with children getting letters in a Torah scroll. They flew to Iraq and they bombed the nuclear reactor. And they completely destroyed it. Israelis had such a mission that made no sense. There's no way you can get into Iraq airspace. There's no way you can get near that nuclear reactor. They're going to shoot you down. They don't let people casually travel around nuclear reactors. We got into the airspace. They flew low. They didn't see them. They bombed the reactor, and they all came home alive. Destroyed this threat that the Rebbe was warning and warning and warning about throughout that entire spring and going into the summer. In general, we have to have a lot of confidence. We have to have a lot of trust. We have to have joy. We have to say, God, you're in control, and we can't wait to see the miracles. I keep telling him, I know every Jew is your only child. You have to protect every single Jew in the entire world. And every Jew is your only child, and you have to do it in a way that the whole world will see that every single Jew is your only child. Some practical points I was thinking, everything I said, by the way, it's practical. Tefillin is very practical. If you know someone that you could get them to put on tefillin, tell them. The Rebbe says again and again and again, every single war, the Rebbe said, tell the Jew outside Israel, his putting on tefillin is at this moment protecting a soldier in Israel. We need to protect those soldiers. Unfortunately, my own sister-in-law lost a cousin today in the fighting. I have a cousin who's a reservist, but he's a nurse in Israel. And they're not taking him because there's too many wounded soldiers he's trying to save. So if you have anyone that you know that you could convince them to put on tefillin once or every single day, this will protect a soldier in Israel. You know, Jewish children, the Rebbe kept going back to Jewish children as a power. Again, based on this verse where God says, from the mouths of the children, the mouths of the sucklings and the babes, you have given us strength to destroy the enemy. It's literally the verse. From the mouths of the children, there's a strength to destroy the enemy. Jewish children that can add a verse of Torah, can add a prayer, can add charity. Jewish children that could say the 12 Torah passages. You could Google them online, 12 Torah passages. Very easy to find. You can't find, tell me, I'll find them for you. This was what the Rebbe said, save the Jews in Entebbe. A tremendous miracle came from those children saying those 12 Torah passages. Letter and Sefer Torah. My son goes out every night. He's probably been doing this for 2 years. Goes to the airport Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and sometimes Saturday night, depending on if there's flights, to grab the Jews traveling to Israel that they should sign up their children under bar or bat mitzvah, girls under 12, boys under 13, in this still being written. I don't remember now. I think they've already written 9. These Torah scrolls are to protect the Jewish people, create unity, and protect the Jewish people. And in general, whatever we can do, whatever we can add, knowing that the power's in our hand. The Rebbe says, we have the spiritual arsenal. Yes, we need soldiers, and every soldier is holy, and every soldier is defending the Jewish people. But they need us, because we've got the spiritual weapons that we can do while they're doing the physical. The Rebbe says it's very simple. It's adding in Torah. It's adding in commandments. It's literally what's written straight in the verse. If, again, the verse said, if you will go in my statutes. And the Rebbe says, when God says, if, he's pleading with us. God is pleading with us. God said, please, please, please do this. I want to protect you. I want to help you. I want to save you. Please go in my statutes so I can give you all the blessings of absolute peace that will come through this. It was very interesting because on Sunday, the Torah portion we read, not what we read in synagogue was the whole book, the whole Torah portion of the final Torah portion of the whole Torah called Zot HaBracha, and the first section of the first Torah portion, which is Bloodiest, Genesis, creation. And it's very interesting because as I was reading it, so I studied the portions yesterday, and it was just in my face, my gosh, all of these verses are talking about the protection of the Jewish people. The whole Zot HaBracha, that final Torah passage, has so many verses talking about the protection of Israel. And Genesis, Bloodiest, begins. The very opening words there are saying, Why is God, I mean, the commentary, Rashi explaining, why is God talking about creation? Isn't Torah about the commandments? So that the nation should not come and say, oh, you're robbers. You stole from us the land of Israel. No, we're writing in Torah. We're giving you the backstory. We're saying God created this world. Israel is God's land, and God chose to give it to the Jewish people. So anyone that takes that land from us, they're thieves. This is God's land for the Jewish people. So this was the Torah portion of Sunday. And I was like, wow, because Torah creates reality. Look what God is saying here as we are reading and crying and reading and crying and in such agony and pain. This is what God says. This is a Torah portion. So what I was thinking, and then I would like to hear what other people are thinking, in any way you can add in prayer. It was interesting because I prayed. I've been trying in general to pray well. I think I got inspired from something from this class, actually. And I always try to pay attention now to the meaning of the words. And there's a lot of verses there about protection and destruction of the enemy, but those never like really resonated. There are a lot of other verses that resonated. But today, boy, I heard every single one of them. I was praying with a lot of tears, but I was praying very strongly to God. All these verses are true. All these verses are happening. So each person to add in prayer, each person to add in Psalms. There's so many Psalms. I think I'll put on the group. I'll say now, but I'll also put on the group Psalms to add in.
Question.
Yes, Chava.
So there are a couple groups on WhatsApp, at least I got in a couple groups that were reading Tehillim all day long. And what they do, like first woman says, I'm reading 1 to 5, the next like 6. And like, what do you think?
Wonderful. Those are wonderful. Those are wonderful. Yeah, I don't know the groups you're talking about. I don't necessarily have to do 5 at a time. You could just do one.
No. Each woman decides one just
right. Right. So how those groups work, it's a very efficient system, and people do it for many things where we need God's blessings. Is like Chava said, she's doing 21. I go on. Okay, I'm doing 22. You go on. You're doing 23 to 25, and that's how they very quickly finish many books of Psalms all day long. Because as we know, and we always speak about in this class, or many times we mentioned this, Psalms are the strongest way to bring down God's protection, God's love, God's kindness, God's compassion. Psalms are an amazingly powerful tool. Amazingly powerful tool. And it's definitely worthwhile. If you want, Chava can forward you the invites to join these groups, because here there's no pressure. Just when you have time, you go on, and you know you're part of something very powerful. What's also very beautiful about those groups, which is something else I want to mention, is the idea of unity. So the Rebbe, throughout all the wars, also spoke about Psalms. Psalms.
So quick question. So can we read it like 24/7 because of what?
Absolutely. Any time of day or night. Whenever there's a danger to the Jewish people, you're always allowed to read Psalms, or in a danger to an individual. If somebody is very, very, very sick, you can say Psalms anytime you want. Because in other words, there's a spiritual Kabbalistic reason why we don't read Psalms at night. But the danger overrides that. So if it's a danger here to the Jewish people or to any individual Jew, that danger overrides the general care in not reading Psalms at night. So you can read it any time of day or night. And yes, throughout all Israel has gone through, the Rebbe always said, beyond anything else, always, this is our spiritual arsenal. We always turn to Psalm. So Chava could maybe put on our group an invite. I can put on just what's suggested. Psalms, as many that are suggested. You could do either or both. But Psalms is very, very powerful. Charity is, of course, very powerful. We know charity saves from death. Charity is very powerful. Charity does not have to be a lot of money. Charity is very powerful, even if you just give a few coins. You put a quarter, or nickel, dime in the charity box every day, several times a day, whenever you feel the need, and just say, this is to protect. This is to protect the Jewish people. This is to protect the captives. This is to protect the soldiers. This is to protect the Jewish people. This is to protect people all over the world. This is protection. This is protection. This is protection. It doesn't have to be big money. Just make sure you're putting charity in a kosher Jewish charity, meaning if you send money to the IDF, that's fine, but that's not charity. If you send money, I know they're trying to raise money for the IDF to buy more equipment, that's beautiful, that's not charity. It has to be something that we considered, as we discussed in the past, charity to either directly help a poor Jew or any organization that helps Jews, any social service organization, like in Chicago we have the ARC, or any other social service organization that helps Jews as charity, any religious Torah organization, any school, any synagogue, any mikvah, Torah scroll, anything that helps Jewish people, any Chabad house, any of those religious organizations, that's all charity. Very importantly, which again, the Rebbe would stress many, many, many times, is unity. So I'm sure we've all experienced the tremendous unity that Jewish people have now, feeling like someone said to me as she walked the streets today, that she just felt like such a feeling. Everyone had this feeling of being one, which of course is so true because we are one, and so many people told me, like my daughter, her friends, her non-Jewish friends sent her beautiful, delicious food. And someone else is speaking to me saying her co-workers, non-Jews, are calling her, offering their support. And of course, I know many Noachites that are sending me messages and what Psalms to say. I even know relatives of these Noachites that are sending out messages. And I hope, and what I see is generally throughout the world, through the Jewish world, there's, unfortunately, it has to come through this, but tremendous solidarity. And in many, 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 as I see it, the high majority of the non-Jewish world, there's a tremendous support for the Jewish people. And we could have to work on this personally as well, meaning there's this global unity, but unity starts in your backyard. So if you know someone maybe you have not had such unity with, maybe there's been a lack of brotherly love between you and another Jewish, maybe there's a lack of love between you and another Jewish person, it's very, very, very powerful to make amends, to be the first one to reach out, to express love, to give a call. And again, we can't envision who we're saving. We can't envision what we're doing. We don't know the power. We know these things, but we don't get, if we got it, boy, would we be doing this. So many stories I'm thinking right now of someone, whatever, different stories coming to my head, it was about individuals, but one man who was very, very sick, and when he recovered, he made a festive meal to thank God, which is the custom, but he didn't invite it for the whole community, he invited it for a few people. And it was very interesting because when people got the invites, they assumed he must be inviting everyone because I barely know this guy. And they came and they saw, well, there's not so many people. If he's inviting like 15, 20 people, why do you invite me? I don't even know him. And at a certain point, the man said, the reason why I invited every single person here is when I was so deathly ill, my soul left my body, had, as we call it, out-of-body experience. And it was very hard for me to get back into my body. And I saw the words of Psalms, they pulled me down. And I saw each person here saying those Psalms. Each person in this room that I invited, I saw your songs pulled me down. And each person was like, oh, right, that was a name. That was someone I was praying for. That, let me say for people. I know another situation where something very similar, another out-of-body experience. This woman was literally describing one person's Psalms that they realized afterwards it was a horrific car accident, and someone passed and saw it and literally pulled over actually and said Psalms for a long time, and she saw in her out-of-body experience those Psalms pulling her back into her body. So it's everything we're saying, with the prayers, with the Psalms, with the Tehillim, with the charity, with the unity. If only we knew our power, we'd be doing it much more, and we have a lot of confidence. And that's really the final and fifth point, is this idea of confidence. Now, I cried a lot today. I'm very emotional. I cry very easily. I feel pain very deeply. I cried a lot. But that doesn't take away my confidence. I'm human. I have a human body. So it's okay to cry because I have a human body. But that doesn't take away confidence and an absolute certainty that every single Jew is God's only child. And even though we've seen all these tragedies, and even though there's no explanation, sorry if you thought I was giving an explanation, I wouldn't dare. And I definitely wouldn't give God any excuses here. So there's no explanation, there's no excuses, and we don't want to give any excuses. That's not our business. We're not justifying. We're demanding. God, every single Jew is your only child. You have all the power in the world. Don't let your name be desecrated. What's a greater desecration of God's name than the Jewish people being harmed? Like, restore your name. Many times if we have merits or not, we don't care. We don't have to have merits. God, restore your name, restore your honor, restore your glory, and show the world your power. I have a lot of pain, but I have a lot of confidence. I added a lot of Psalms, and of course, obviously charity, and obviously prayer and unity, and just trying all of these tools that I know really, really, really work, because I want to see this amazing miracle now. Anyone else have questions, thoughts, feelings, or other ideas they had?
I like that when you said that you're praying and asking God to show everybody that it's a miracle, that so he performs miracle. So nobody has a doubt that it was Hashem who performed miracle and saved all the Jews. I will be praying the same thing. I think it's very powerful, and you kind of verbalized it. I wished it too, but I just couldn't like verbalize it. But I like that, and I will pray for the same thing.
But amen, amen, amen. We should all add in prayers, and we should all tell God every Jew is your child, and we don't want the world to get fooled. We don't want the world to think it's the IDF. We want the world to know it's you. We want it to be that obvious.